our serious pattern of the month. And it's our 55th, I think, film. And we're still in the middle of the season. And I'm gonna actually tie a fly that's been really good to me this season. I've caught quite a few fish on it. Quite a few on a poor season like this, but I caught fish on it in several different rivers. It's the same principle as this little, or partly the same technique as this little green Highlander Nutria Spey thing. And I know that a lot of you thought that this was a pretty cool little technique and how to use the Nutria hairs forming a hackle. Okay, so I'm gonna do this today, and we're gonna do a fly that I tied for the spring fishing I had in Canada this year. We went to Spey and we fished a few of the rivers there. And fishing Matapedia, Picas or Spey, Picas is the pattern everybody talks about and everybody fishes. But I had friends that fished these rivers before, saying that a long, slim, black and yellow wing is what produces best fishing. So I tied a few, and I'm gonna tie you one of these today. It's samurai kind of fly with this new Nutria technique. So let's start tying. Okay, so this kind of fly and this technique with the Nutria is best on a BTT or on a TTT, and today I'm going to tie it on the large BTT. The BTTs are so super light, they don't weigh almost anything. Sorry for having a little problem with my throat still. Okay, and I start by melting just a little edge on the extra small black, and I will put it onto the BTT using, also we have a new little tool, our little tying plier. It's really good to take the tubing and pull and stretch and whatever you want to do with it, but it's a handy little tool. Okay, so I'll put this on, and then I'm going to start by I will use our 12-0 like normal, our 12-0 thread, and I put a little thread on, and then I do a little trick, and that is to take a little bit of glue, just a tiny little bit, and put it on, just to be sure that my thread and the material will not slip on the BTT. Okay, so where do we have things? Here we have the messy table. Here we have the yellow Nutria, and I start with that. And I think I showed you in the other film how this little thing actually happened. And what I do is I'll try to find strands that are fairly long. And the good thing with the Nutria we sell is that it's cut, so you have also the close part, or the short part and the long part on every little piece. So I cut this really close to the skin, maybe too close there, and make sure to take away all the little short strands and underwool, and just keep the actual long fibers. And this is a bit too many, but I will tie them in, and here I can show you how this actually first happened. And that was me tying an underwing on a fly where the strands started to slide down, and I looked at it and it looked pretty cool. So what I do is that I put them on top here and I slide down the strands. Good way of doing it is with your thumbnail. Tie in a couple of turns, and as I said, they are a bit too many maybe. If they are, I can just pull out a few, since I have not that much tying thread on. I can just make sure it's sparse. And now fishing those, I know that it's easy to take too many, because if you do, the fly might come out of balance. When I'm ready with that, I'll cut this, and I don't need to cut it close. I cut it close to the BTT, but I don't need to be super close to where I tied it in. Again, checking, so I have these to be spread on half the diameter, and when you have cut them, it's easier to move them. And then I secure a few more turns. One may be too long, I can take it away afterwards. Then I just turn this, and it's very seldom we do that actually. When we put the fly in the vise, it's there, and we tie the fly ready. But this way I just create this fantastic hackle. And let me just show you. I'll pick one strand here because it's very unique. The Nutria strands. Oops. The thing with these are that if you look at them, they are thicker in the upper half than in the lower half, which is normally quite the opposite with most hair, meaning that if I tie it in on this little very narrow, I get very good flexibility in this little hackle or hair. And I think that's why they move so fantastically good in the water. Okay, so what do we have here? A lot of stuff. And when it comes to the samurais, having our SNS samurai hair here, and we call this, it's fantastic hair. We call this sunburst yellow, and you can see the nice color. And the important thing when it comes to goat is that the tips are not burnt. If you burn the tips, it will start to tangle. So I'll take a bit of this. Lost my scissors here. And this is going to be my underwing. I again take away most of the soft hair in the bottom. Look at this, and since I don't want the underwing to be too long, I take the longest strands and I pull them out and put them back again. Doing this, I can form a wing that is tapered but not crazy tapered, and about maybe half or 3/4 of the length of the wing. And I look at this and I tie it in using a lot of the diameter of the BTT. If it slips down, I'll just go and pick it up, but you know, I was a bit brutal on that. And then I'll cut, and again, it's not super necessary to be very, very close. And I look at this and make sure I have enough fibers and that it's tied quite on top of this. I don't want this fly to be the heavy drop form. I want it to be quite slim. So that's why I do this. Okay, and then I'll take a bit of angel hair and of course you can pimp this up with any color. I could do yellow, but I decided here I take a couple of gold ones. Not many, just a few. Tie them in, spread them, tie them in, and always double back because then they can't slip. Go all the way back to close to the BTT. And the BTT is the light one. It says brass, but it's super light. The TTT is a tungsten one and it's heavy. So here I'm doing a quite light fly with a long profile. Okay, second part of the wing. I have many options. So of course I can show you this because when I tied these for Canada I did two versions. I did one with the green underwing, which I would fish more in Scandinavia maybe. We caught fish on both. Now we're gonna have some black here, and the good thing is now introducing the SNS is that we have all the good material in all shades. Looking at this goat you can see how good the tips are, but there's also another material. Oh, that was another goat, and that is what's called almost monkey. And what's the difference here? Well, if you look at these two pieces, you can see how this is much fatter and this is slimmer, meaning this got a bit more of the curly under wool. So it creates a bit more volume, and since this fly is not it's a samurai because it's tied samurai style, but it's not a super slim fly, I would prefer to have this curly under part. And again, full whole tails. Looking so I get a good taper, spread it and tie it in. Pull it up a little bit. It's always like that. The thread wants the material to go the other way. Look at that. Is it good? I think it's good. So I'll secure it and press it against the BTT and cut. And when I cut a big bunch like this, it's easier to divide it and take a piece at a time. Okay. Does it look good? I think so. Are these too long? No, not really. I'm not afraid of having a few of these being really long. They will swim in a very nice way. Okay, so we do a jungle cock and keep tying with our own substitute where you have the right and the left feather, and I will take two of them and cut them in the bottom. Unfortunately, you have to be a little more patient before they are on the market, but soon. Here we go. I got one too much there. And they are pointing one way each, and I'll start with the one closest to me. And I can form it. It's formed one way, but I can form it a little bit so it lies nicely along the wing. And actually, when we had these ones out on the team, everybody says, oh, the best thing is that they are so easy to tie in. And they are. They almost always, here we go. Getting so bloody old I don't see anything. They almost always sits right. And when they are right, they will stay in the right place. They are also very hot in the color, which means you put a UV light or a little bit of light on these and you will see how they shine. Here we go. Can cut that before I look at it. And I think it's good. Stands out a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. We want material to stand out a bit, because if they don't do that, they will just slim down. It's better if we have a little profile. Okay, now we go on dabbing. And samurai style, what I do, I can choose between the glitz and the dabbing. I'm going to do glitz, and this is what is maybe the most common thing showing that it's really is a samurai, and that is that you actually put dabbing to help doing that nice little drop form, and do it in front of the wing. Little bit at a time. It's a simple fly to tie, but it all comes down to having the right material. Hold back the hackles and back down the dubbing. And as I normally say when I do this, and you guys seen me tie samurais before, you need to be fairly brutal here. You need to put on material so this fly looks super overdressed, because if it doesn't, you start brushing this and it will not look good. You put on too much, you can always brush it a little extra and it will slim down. Hold it back, and then I move the dubbing down on the extra small, having most of the materials on top of the BTT, where it creates a very stable fly. And I think it looks good. Then the meanest brush on the planet, and I just brush this to have these fibers create a bit of volume, extremely translucent. I wouldn't say they create that much movement, but they create a nice drop form. I normally brush them a little more on the top side than underneath, and then just hold back and make sure there's room for a hackle. And again, back at 15 years, I didn't tie with ringneck pheasant at all, actually. But starting doing it, it is very nice. It is soft and it's got quite a bit of volume to it. And you have to decide when you tie it in how many fibers you want, because you want the softer fibers in the bottom. And since I do this on the extra small, it's a small diameter, meaning I will put on quite a few turns cutting. Again, showing you how I use support by my fingers when I cut it and tie it in. And normally I can use our hackle plier, but I normally do this with fingers tied in and double it back by pulling back the fibers on the piece of feather I actually tie in. I get all feathers to come one side. You can of course pick a shorter feather, or a feather with shorter fibers, I mean. If you do that, you will have less of a spey fly and more normal fly. But this I want it to be, I call them Nutria Speys. I want to have that spey looking fly with a lot of long hackle fibers. It's good. It's easier to make a hackle even on a thin diameter where you do more turns. I think it turned out to be fairly good. Okay, it's time for a little cone, and on these ones I always use my micro turbos, doing it in a metallic yellow one here with a lot of contrast against the black, and I put it on, and sometimes I need to pull this to pull down the cone onto the close to the fly, but I put a little bit of glue here. When I've done that, I can cut the thread, and easiest way to pull this down is to do it when you have it out of the vise. Hold back, and here the little plier is handy because I can just take this and hold it and pull down the cone. And I've explained so many times why it's important to have this tight. And people say that, oh, why don't you make it so it's easier? A little more. And the reason for that is that I don't want it to be able to slide or turn on the plastic, because then it can break the plastic very easy. It will break the plastic, but if it's super tight and sits tight, it won't start to move. And about 3 millimeters. And look at this, black and yellow lighter today. Black and yellow fly. And I melt it down very careful like that. Wait a little bit before I touch it, because otherwise I might not lose the little hole I have for my leader. And well, black and yellow Nutria Spey Samurai. I think it's a pretty cool fly, and you can see how I do the wing a little wider than on a lot of samurais where the wing is just sitting straight on top. Make it a little wider, get it translucent by the curly black, and pretty cool, I think. Okay, so how do I fish these? I fish all my BTTs and TTTs, or 99.9%, loose on the leader. So I slide this on the leader. To make the hook sit, I need a little plastic, and on a big fly like this, I dress the body, and you don't need to dress it very much, just a little bit. And let's take yellow medium, and use the tube cutter to get it straight. And let's say I'll do a 2 centimeter one here. I cut it a little bit, and to create a little edge, I then see if I can pick up my black excess here. So I just put on the medium and I slide down this, and it's important to see that you have the excess going quite far into the medium, but still leaving room to put the hook in. So simple, when I cut the angle there and put the thread on, I get a situation where the medium will grab the extra small and hold it. Okay, and I had a mirage, and I'm gonna do it simple here. Very often I use 3 parts of this body, but here I'm gonna use only 2. So I secure that and I back down the mirage over the yellow. And that's the fantastic thing with the mirage, that it picks up color and it turns really, really nice when you do it over a strong fluorescent part like our Fitz tubing is. So I do that. I can then decide glitz or dubbing depending on size of fly. Let's do dubbing just to show you here. I would say that I use glitz most of the time, but let's do a little dubbing. The dubbing will create a body that is a bit slimmer than the glitz does. And I just dub on a piece. I'm not going to do any ribbing, so I work this back and forth a bit. Little bit at a time. Makes it much easier for me to control this, and I just work my way up to the point where I connected the 2 tubes, and I can go down a little bit onto the extra small, just a tiny little bit more. There we go. If I do that, I'm sure I can slide a cone on there if I want. And I had another of the yellow ones here. You can just as well just finish up and put a bit of glue, because this is not going to be seen. And here I used a little trick I do. I put the glue a bit away from the material. Then I take my thread and I pick up glue like that. Pull it down, cut off. I can run the brush through this when it's in the vise. It's maybe a bit easier than to do it in my hand. Just make this a bit more translucent, creating a bit more volume. Take it out and cut and melt. And even if I've done this a lifetime, I love tying flies. I think it's fantastic to create the fly and you think where you're gonna fish it. But I think it's so boring to make those bodies. Melt it down. And the thing, this is not gonna work like that. You have the little body. And what did we do with the fly? And we have the fly, here it is. Put the fly onto the leader, put the body onto the leader, tie on the hook, make the hook slide into the Fitz tubing, and this will slide down like this in the water. And as you can see, I created a fly where I have my hook to be about center. This is a fast swimmer. Fish it on a big belly and the fish will grab it from the side, not pull it back here. So, black and yellow Nutria Spey. Maybe I didn't have, I should have had a good name for it, but it's been a fly that actually caught us fish on several of the Canadian rivers, and then I had fish on this fly on the west coast of Norway and also now in Suldalslågen. It's turned out to be one of my basic flies for this season. And I think that the black and yellow is tradition, Jock Scott and a million other patterns. But also the Nutria hackle will help create a lot of motion on this fly. And I think this turned out good. So let's put it in a box and fish it. Okay, and for those of you who want to try it, first of all, we have all the stuff. You can buy the materials and you can buy the Nutria if you want to try. Where's my Nutria? Here. We have a million colors of this fantastic hackle material. And of course, pattern of the month packs and also fly packs for those of you who don't tie or don't think you can tie them good enough. And this is it. And I think it's actually the third film in a row I'm saying tomorrow I'm going fishing. So now it's time to clean up. I'm gonna tie 3 more flies for myself for this trip. Going to the end of September, last days, and I have some secret flies over there I've already started to tie for this trip, and maybe I'll show you one of these for the next episode in this little film series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I enjoy this. I enjoy tying them, and I enjoy catching fish of them. So thank you very much for watching, and hope you tie hard, long, and a lot, and all the time.